Okay, tonight's ramble, and I guess the whole ramble thing is kind of a thing I'm enjoying doing, so bear with me on this. Tonight's ramble is about voice acting. I used to do a lot of work with pendant audio and some with broken C audio and Colonial Radio Theater a couple of times. I enjoy doing the voice acting thing. It's not quite the same as just podcasting. You know, taking on a role and um, having set lines, but using your skill with voice to make those lines come alive and turn into somebody is interesting. It's fun. I fell out of the habit. Fell out of the hobby while I was working, and well, there were some things that happened around that time in some of the groups I was involved with that sort of had me back off a bit, I think. And like anything, inertia sets in. Once you're going in a direction, it's hard to change that direction. And I realized recently, mainly because these days my job involves me using my voice a lot, that I miss it. I miss being able to do the voice acting. I miss helping to tell stories with just my voice. I know it's weird. I know a lot of people hate the sound of their own voice. They always think that they sound worse than they do. And I think it's like the people who don't like to have pictures taken of themselves, I guess, to a certain extent. People don't think that they look as good as they do, I guess. I don't know. The thing with voice, I have a good voice. I know that. I've done enough work with it to know that I have a pretty good voice. And I feel like I'm kind of wasting it at the job I'm at. I feel like I want to stretch those muscles again. I want to play a character again. It is very much related to why I kind of got into podcasting in the first place. My first podcast was Radio Free EOS, which was awesome because a friend of mine, Lee Hammock, was a writer on Dawning Star, which was a role-playing game that had a fairly critical appeal. Fairly good critical appeal. People liked it. It was a firm science fiction setting. It was set on a distant world where humanity had been forced to flee Earth and then ended up sort of warped through space to a place to set up their colony and them trying to find their way. They recently had a Kickstarter, so that'll be coming out in a Fate version, so that'll be fun. And I kind of love the fact that some of the stuff I did for my podcast made it into the game world and became sort of the implied fiction of the world. That made me very happy. But that was my first podcast. And the way I did it was I picked a character that would exist in that world. And I did a podcast from the standpoint of him doing a radio show. A character named Pathfinder, who I took the name from the James Fenimore Cooper books. Anyways, the idea was this guy was doing sort of a pirate radio telling you the real stories that were going on around the world. Um, and that also ties into another inspiration. I always loved Shadowrun's supplements because they sort of gave you adventure seeds in the meta text around what was going on by doing it as people telling you what's really going on. Really going on. And in like the Shadowland bulletin boards and what have you. And I think that always appealed to me, and that's one of the reasons why the Shadowrun supplements have always been some of my favorites. So I kind of took those two things, this notion of doing a radio show and doing the Adventure Seed thing from Shadowrun, and came up with a podcast. And really it boiled down to I was voice acting. Pendant, I ended up working with Pendant because, unlike a lot of places that I had seen, they posted their casting calls on their website. Hey, we're looking for people. This is the role. These are the lines. This is how you submit. Go. Really, that's why I ended up doing a lot of work with them, because they made it easy to sort of find your way in. And I think I want to do that again. I went looking, actually, before I started recording to see if they had any open calls right now, and they don't, apparently, which is a sad thing. But I don't know. I liked it. There's a group called the Atlanta Radio Theater. At least one of my friends works with them fairly often. They do the live sort of radio show productions. I've seen them for years. I've got several of their recordings. They're great. They're awesome. The radio theater type audio dramas that I've done before were not quite like that because we weren't all getting together and doing it. So, I would get my lines in a script. I'd get my script and I'd read my lines. Read enough of the script to find out the context of the scene so I knew how I should be acting and so on. And, I would send off the lines to the director, and the director would take in the audio and, mine and everybody else's in the cast, and mix in sound effects and music and such, and you end up with these great shows. And I miss doing that sort of thing. I want to do it again. So I'll probably be looking around to find some opportunity to do that again. Some of the stuff I worked on is gone, which makes me sad. But we won't talk about that. But some of the stuff I worked on is still out there. Once Upon a Time in Vegas is still there. And Dixie Stenberg and her Brassy Battalion. I did some work for that as well. Some of the Colonial Radio Theater stuff, I played George Washington, a young George Washington when he was just a colonel. That was fun. I mean, I like doing that kind of stuff. I played Genzo. Genzo was a supervillain for Broken Seas Productions, and that was fun. I like trying out different kinds of characters. A lot of my LARPing involves me doing different voices. To this day, I can pretty much slip into a semi-Russian accent at the drop of a hat. I can talk like Russian accent all day long. I don't know why. It just comes easily. And, I played a character with a Russian accent for a long time, and just sort of stuck. It seemed easy. You know, I can do tough guy cop and, you know, snooty officials, and you know, I enjoy doing that kind of work, and I'm looking forward to trying again. Anyway, that's my ramble for tonight. I'm interested in doing some voice acting again and getting back into that world. I guess my question to throw out to other people is anybody else doing that? Is anybody else listening to audio dramas? I know I listen to Welcome to Night Vale and some of the pendant productions still, and I know I listen to the Sonic Society when it's, you know, when I can, and I like that format. Space Casey recently relaunched, and the first episode of the second season is pretty good. And, you know, there are a lot of them out there. A whole huge lot of them out there. And I was wondering if anybody else was listening to them, and or, you know, acting in them. I know that some of my friends over at Pendant are still there, and others. I think I would like to hear if anybody is still listening to the radio plays and the audio dramas, and you know, do you listen to the classic stuff? Let me know. But other than that, subscribe, like. Ooh, I like it when people like the videos. I enjoyed the commentary on the last one. I will probably have to get a hold of some really nice text props to show sometime in the future, because people seem to like that discussion thing. And you know, tell people about the rambles if you like them, and if you don't, well, don't tell people about them, I guess. You know, I'm pretty easy. Anyway, ramble done. Y'all have fun. Catch you tomorrow.